Well, good evening. It's Tuesday night, and I am Rick Dancer, and this is Get Real with Rick Dancer. We have an amazing show for you tonight. If you're in Montana, we got something for you. If you're in Oregon, we have something from Montana that's going to be for you. If you live in Oregon, I have a story that's not going to make you very happy, but what's going to make you happy is to see parents standing up to their school districts to fight for their kids. We have parents in Rogue River, Oregon. A video was played in a class the other day, and I'm going to have the parents on in just a minute. They can explain how old these kids are, but they're young, and the video is disgusting. And it wasn't just played once, it was played like over and over in different classrooms. And these parents have been on Lars, they've been going out, they're in the car because they're ready to go to a board meeting to fight this thing. And I think what people in Oregon and in America are learning is we're the boss. We are the boss. The Constitution starts with a very simple phrase, we the people. Doesn't say we the president, doesn't say we the legislature, doesn't say we the Senate, we the House, doesn't say we the bureaucratic deep state. It doesn't say we the donors, it says we the people. And I think we the people are finally starting to figure out what the hell is going on. Our show is brought to you by Dr. Michael Bratland, Chris Dental Family Dentistry. Just talked to him today. He was talking about now is a super good time to get into the dentist because they're real slow this time of year because of the holidays. And it's a great time to get in and get any kind of work done that you want done. And we thank you, Dr. Bratland, for being there. Our second topic tonight is the Montana Family Foundation. It's a foundation that fights for family, for faith. I lost the other F word, faith, family, and freedom. How could I forget my favorite word? That's what they fight for. But Derek's joining us, and he's going to join us. And there's some things that he had this speech that he gave. And I just sat there while he was talking going, I want my audience to hear this because there's things you can do even when you don't think you can do something. And I think the media never covers, they just cover like, oh, Supreme Court turns this over, but they never cover the little details. And I want Derek to talk about that for Montanans. But I also think that you in Oregon can get something out of this to realize that don't stop. Just because something gets ruled against you, don't stop right there. You just keep going. So a great example of just keep going are the two ladies you're about to meet from Rogue Valley. I'm going to bring them in. There's Sarah and Emily. And so you guys are sister-in-laws, or how are you related?
We're sisters. Sisters, yeah.
You're sisters. Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell me, you each have a child, a daughter and a son. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a daughter and she has a son, and they're 19 days apart. So they're in the same grade. They go, they have the same classes, but just different periods. So
how old are they?
They both just turned 13.
Yes. They
Okay,
both
so
had
that's
birthdays
like-
in October.
That's middle school, right?
Yeah.
Seventh grade.
Seventh grade.
So tell people what happened.
Well, on Thursday the 6th, my daughter told me that a rape video was shown in class, that her cousin told her about it, and another one of her friends told her that there was going to be this rape scene in the class. And so then, come fourth period, she gets to class, and sure enough, she watches this video and there's a rape scene. Made her feel completely uncomfortable and lost and confused. And so
She didn't know that she could speak up for herself. She didn't know that she could go seek help. She just had to sit there.
This is a teacher playing this, so it I guess it must be okay is probably what she thought, because we're supposed to trust the teachers. But well, as he's shown, he's not suitable for that position because of what he showed.
But we went and inquired, what's the thinking behind this? What's the process? Why? And he said, well, I've been showing it for 3 years and no one's ever had a problem with it. But that doesn't make it okay. It was the first time that the principal had even heard of it, even though it had been shown for the last 3 years. And he said, well, it's on YouTube, and there used to just be one commercial, and it allowed me to skip it. But now there's like 3, 4, 5, 6 commercials, and when I try to skip that part of the video that I knew was there, it wouldn't let me. It just glitched, so I just played it.
And
Does his teacher understand that all you have to do is download the damn video off of YouTube? And there's all kinds of programs out there. If you really cared about this, you can cut this section out. Let's show people what we're talking about. Okay, so I don't think most of you sit here and watch my show with your children, but I'm just going to warn you. And this, I mean, it's a cartoon, but I want to just warn you that this is completely inappropriate. And so I pieced it together twice because the actual scene is really, really short. And it's, as an adult, I don't think you're going to get, and you're going to be repulsed, but you're not. It's not like, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to cover people's feelings, but let me just play this for you.
The wedding night is a farce. Gunther falls upon his bride while the invisible Siegfried holds her down.
So what you have here is the guy. So the little, now watch the little green thing. So that's the ghost. And the guy's saying he's holding down the woman while this man on their wedding night has rapes her. And I'm not laughing. I am like, why is that even okay?
Yeah. And what are we trying to teach? What was the purpose of this?
Well, if as a woman, I would be like appalled because this is like totally sexist, totally violence against women. I mean, isn't that
throughout the whole movie, the whole clip, the whole thing total is about 50 minutes, and through the whole thing there's violence, excessive alcohol use, and the rape, and it's like, this is what we're showing our kids? Really?
What was the point of the movie, or the film that they're showing people? I don't understand.
They were studying and introducing the barbaric tribes.
The Germanic.
We
Germanic
need to show that women were raped I mean, that, like.
Yeah, and I understand and respect, like, there are, like, things happen in history and horrible things happen, but we don't need to animate it and show it to our 12-year-old kids.
You come up with other ideas, like you show some of the weapons they use. You come up with anything. I mean, there is the whole internet, and the internet's pretty big. You find something else besides rape.
And you're not, it's kind of to me, it's kind of glorifying the thing. It's not saying we should be telling our children this happened and it was a terrible thing. And it should never happen again, because you don't use power over another person, and I mean and it's so easy to edit this stuff. I do it every day. And the 8th graders in that class could have edited it for me.
Right.
And that's what I was saying too. Like, do we not have like a technology class? Like, while I don't want to pass this off to other kids to have to edit, but like, come on.
So,
we've got a teacher that teaches that class.
Or have their own YouTube account so that there's no commercials.
You went to the principal and tell us how that went.
So I went to the principal the very next day because I could not sit across the table and have a teacher parent conference with him, because in my mind, he's just a weirdo. So I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sit across from him. So I went to the principal and the vice principal, and I showed them the video, and they were appalled, and they said that they would address it, and they did. They went and they got the video taken down, and they talked to him. And then later that day I got a phone call, and he said that the computer had glitched, and so he wasn't able to skip the computer or skip the scene. And so that kind of frustrated me.
Wouldn't you then you just don't play the damn video? If you don't have the ability to cut that out, what are you going to do? Go, okay, everybody go blah 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 during the scene and cover your eyes.
But he repeated it in every single class. And not once has there been any kind of accountability or anything at all.
His when we had a meeting, so she talked to him Friday, and then we both went in and had a meeting with the principal, vice principal, and this teacher on Monday, and just asked some clarifying questions. What can we do to prevent this in the future? Why was this shown? And he said, well, my teaching license gives me the freedom to choose anything I want from wherever I want and show it, so long as it's within the school parameters. And so I said, okay, what are those parameters? I said, this was a video. Was there not a permission slip that was needed?
No.
And they said no, because it's not a feature film with a rating. So in
It's
order
a
to
rape scene.
I know.
Right.
But because it doesn't have it's not a feature film with a rating of PG or over, they can get away with it. I'm like, but why? This is not okay. And he said, well, my teacher license allows me to do what I want. And that's a horrible excuse.
So who does the teacher work for?
Right. Us.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and if this is being taught, is there not a committee or a board or somebody that looks at what the teachers are bringing in? Like, why is that not being looked at all?
So you guys are going to go to the board meeting in like an hour or something, right?
Yes.
What is are you on the agenda, or are you just showing up as?
So they have like the regular agenda, and they have like a good of the order at the end, where when you first get there, you can fill out like a comment card and put your name in the hat to be able to speak. Everyone gets 3 minutes each. And so we are trying to take their time. We're trying to get as many people there as we can and take all of your 3 minutes, even if you just stand there and, take their time, like make them listen. I've got a speech going. She's got a speech going. We're just trying to bring awareness and get our community involved. She posted online on our local community page and on her personal page, and it's got thousands of views,
because we want change for our kids, and that's why we're doing this. We don't just want it, to start at the bottom. We start at the bottom. That's what we're doing, and getting rid of this, and then it needs to go further. It needs, whoever is involved in this or lack of involvement in this, they need to be accountable.
And we need to change.
Does it make you kind of, I mean, as a parent, does it make you kind of feel like maybe I need to go through some of your other curriculum?
Yes, 100%.
Yep.
And speaking of that, I mean, there was literally another incident today with the same teacher, and it was just a slideshow, and it was something that I wish we had sent it to you, but
it just happened. He slipped it in.
Yeah.
And my son texted me and said, Mom, he just showed us another really inappropriate
torture devices.
Yeah, torture devices, chastity belts, and like really graphic stuff.
What class is this? American history?
It's social studies.
Social studies. Yep.
And so I pulled my daughter out of the class. While this is under investigation, I pulled her out. So my daughter had to sit in a classroom today by herself and watch this slideshow with no explanation,
no content,
no nothing.
Context.
She just looked at this picture of all these torture devices, and
there's not another word on the slide. It's just, talking about churches, pictures of clergy, and all of these other examples. And then the next slide is this, and just out of nowhere. And it's wild. So we have this district kind of has a history of this kind of stuff and of letting it slide. So a couple years ago, a teacher was just convicted this year. He got 4 years for raping a student for 3 years. And then in 2018, another teacher did the same thing.
They allowed a student to staple tampons up on the art wall.
Bloody tampons
up on the art wall
for an art show, and said, that's art. And we were like, well, it's,
there's no standards for these kids. There's no boundaries.
Do you guys know where Oregon falls in when it comes to all 50 states in terms of education and quality of education? Do you know where they fall?
We're not high on the list.
I'm sure we're not.
It depends on which one you look at, but the worst one, you're number 48. And
Oh,
just
yeah.
for our viewers who don't understand that, there's only 50 states. So you're 2 tiers from the bottom, and
That's
you spend more on education than most states do. It's something like $8 or $9,000 a student.
Yeah.
So you're spending more money on education. You're not obviously getting them educated. And Rogue River is like a little rural Oregon town. I mean, how many people live in your town?
2,000.
Yeah.
So in like the junior high, so we both graduated from here. There was like maybe 65 kids in my graduating class.
I think I had 73. Yeah.
So why is this so important to you?
These are my kids.
Yeah.
And this is our future, not just, it's my kids' future, and it's our country's future. And
I don't need my daughter accepting anybody thinking it's okay to take advantage of her in the name of history or whatever. It's not okay.
And we've kind of gone through a time where, everything's being accepted and everything's okay. And everybody can be, you can be this or you can be that. And people have gotten complacent, and I don't want my kids thinking that stuff's okay. I want them to know what's right and wrong. I want them to know it's okay to speak up and to stand up.
Wrong.
And
this is wrong.
And even if it makes people uncomfortable, it's okay to say this is not all right.
And that's exactly what I tell my kids. It's okay to not have everybody on your side. As long as you're doing what's right, it's okay.
So we want change, not just for our kids, but for
all the kids.
All kids.
I don't want to see anybody's kid get hurt or exposed. Wait, they've already been exposed.
What?
I said they've already been exposed to all of this from the teacher, the person they're supposed to trust.
You guys are you're like a badasses, aren't you?
We're trying.
we're just angry moms. We're just angry moms.
Well, you're like mama bears, and it's like somebody's messing with your cub, and you're going,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. And we're trying to follow their protocols and do things, chain of command and do things the right way. And we're already feeling they're kind of trying to give us the runaround, and they're trying to sweep it under the rug.
They have done a good job of psychologically messing with, by I've been messaged by some of the board member and other teachers from the high school, not even the junior high, but they're messaging me saying, I wish you would have came to us first instead of posting it. Oh, why? Because you want it quiet? Because you want to just slip this under the rug? No. This is weird sexual stuff in our schools, and I'm not putting up with it, and I won't be quiet about it.
Oh, there probably a month ago, 6 weeks ago in Springfield at one of their schools, one of the teachers went out across the street and bared her breasts and had no fascist on it. And so she's standing outside while people are driving up to the school to release their kids. And here this is. And, this parent called me, and in the end, I don't think anything even got done about it, because I think people are so numb and used to this kind of stuff going on. And you think, what can I do about it? But if it's your kids, I think there's a hell of a lot you can do about it.
Yes.
And always remember that these people work for you. You're the ones, the taxpayers, paying for them to be able to work there. And they don't get to decide on stuff. The way it's supposed to work is a school board is supposed to do what the parents want, not what the teachers want. The teachers are employees. And the school board is elected by you to do what you tell them to do as a community. Here's a little tip for you. When you get to that meeting tonight, I would go up to the board and ask and make sure that all of you get to speak. Because if they see a whole bunch of people show up, they may start limiting you to 1 minute or 30 seconds or something like that, or say only 3 people can speak. So you might want to check with them first, so you're not having everybody sit. Well, you should sit through that meeting. But just a little tip. It happens. I've seen it happen. And,
I've been warned about that they're probably going to try to push us off and make us wait in hopes that people will have other stuff to do and leave because it's the last half an hour, and they may not let us speak. And you know what? That not speaking speaks very loud. speaks very loud. Limiting us on what we can say speaks very loud. And that just gives me a whole nother month to work on getting more parents along with us on this mission.
How are other parents receiving this? I mean, in terms of,
I posted the video, and mind you, I've only posted via Facebook. I have reached out to some of the news channels, but that Facebook is the only my only form of communication through, to the outside world. And so I have got a lot of messages through that, and I have messaged people, and I have taken the time to do emails and write people, and
yeah, but they're not receiving it well. They are mad. They're appalled, and they are standing up. Nobody wants to lead the charge anymore. And I understand that. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable, but I'm over that. I'm over it. So if I need to be driving the bandwagon, hop on, come on with us. And if that's how we can help make change, is to be that foot in the door, then absolutely we're going to be that. But yeah, people are not okay. People are, have commented. We've had so many people let us know, hey, I can or can't come to the meeting, but I went to the district office and I turned in a formal complaint form. Like, people that don't have their kids used to go there and have graduated. Community members who have been here forever have put in comment and complaint cards. And so people are speaking up to the board, to the superintendent, to the district, letting them know, like, we see this, we hear this, and we're not okay with it either.
Okay. Yeah. My last suggestion. You have the best place to have the most powerful position in a community is to be on the school board. You guys should run against these school board members and get them out of there. If they don't listen to you and they're not going to pay attention, you both go in there and run for school board. And that is how you change the school. I am not kidding you.
Absolutely.
Be a powerhouse. And you go in there and you say, no, we're doing this for our kids, and they need more parents like you on there. Well, and that's where your power lies. This is all good. I'm not saying this is bad. This is the beginning and the speaking up part. But if people knew by being on city councils, nobody's going, oh, U.S. Senator. You have so much more power as a school board member or a city councilor or a county commissioner, even the planning commission. Those are positions where you're in there and you can make change and stuff like this, because you get these people in there and they lose touch with what they're really supposed to be doing, which is educating our kids. So
they get so wrapped up in the politics.
I'll put you on. You guys, if you run for school board, I'll definitely have you on the podcast.
Sweet.
Awesome. We'll be back then.
Okay. All right. You two. So good luck tonight, and be nice, be kind. I know you will, Sarah. I read your letter. Never go at people and attack them, because people don't listen. You want them to listen. People never listen if you attack. So go in and just give them what you're talking about, but do not back down. And Rogue River will never look the same.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate you very much, and thank you very much.
Okay, share this on your page and let all your friends, know, and scatter it out there to other communities so people know what you're talking about. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good luck tonight. Okay, did you guys just see that? That's an example of what all of you should be doing. You do not sit silent. You do not let people do this to your children. And even if there's a great idea for why this was shown, I don't know. It doesn't sound like it to me. I can't see any reason. You can talk about what happened in past, but you don't have to show stuff like that. But if you're uncomfortable with something, don't get comfortable with it. Say something. That's what I tell you. That I'd love to. I think I'm going to clip that thing up. That is a perfect example of what we as Americans, we as Montanans, we as Oregonians, Idahoans, Washingtonians, we should all be doing that, is allowing ourselves to get angry enough that we go do something about it, And do you see how kind they were about talking about the principal? And they didn't bring up the teacher's name. I mean, that's how you do it. Grace, total grace. And that is powerful. Oh, I love that. Derek, what do you think of that?
Well, the first thought that came to my mind, Rick, is get your kids out. Get your kids out of that school. and we're seeing this not just in small towns in Oregon. We're seeing this in small towns in Montana. We're seeing this in big cities. This is happening everywhere. And you said something about, aren't these people supposed to be educating our kids? They are. But for what purpose? What purpose do they have behind what they're trying to teach? So as a Christian, I believe that the purpose of education is to know God and to glorify him. It's that simple. That's not the purpose behind public education and the public education system. It's just not. It's a completely different purpose. It's long and short of it is to make little good worker bees in an industrialized society. So they're used to clocking in at the start of the day and clocking out at the end. But it's not to glorify God. It's not to know God. That's not the purpose of education. And so I would just encourage, those two mothers, and I think it's wonderful and courageous that they're bringing attention to this. But this is unfortunately a very common story. And the other thing that it brought to mind is that we recently on our podcast had a guest on named Finley Warden. He went to the teachers union conference here in Montana, and like every state, they have teacher in service days, and they let the teachers out to go to these conferences, and they're teaching them the newest and best ways to teach. Well, one of the things that they're teaching teachers is to play dumb, to play coy, to blame certain things on computer glitches, like we just heard, and say, well, I don't know how that happened. I don't know why that was shown to the kids. We had recorded evidence of folks from the National Teachers Union. So on high, the National Teachers Union flown into Montana, instructing teachers that if they're getting pushback from parents about DEI or critical race theory or any of the stuff that they are trying to educate our kids on and push this agenda on our kids, if they get any pushback from parents, just play dumb, lie.
Yeah. We broke a story here in Oregon. There was a poster of these rainbow clubs for trans kids, and they I put the poster up and just said, does anybody know more about this? And we had 100,000 people view that. And what I found out from sources is that the teachers at this school district have been informed that if people ask about it, just play dumb. Say you don't know. And and these clubs, interestingly enough, a parent wrote me and said, if you're in this rainbow trans club, they get to go on field trips, but the budgets are so tight that the regular students who aren't in those groups don't get to go on field trips. So you get rewarded for saying that you're trans because you get to go to a class. So is that authentic, or is that just a bunch of bullshit? You know what I mean?
I think it all comes down to the purpose of education, and that purpose is being carried out in the public school system. I mean, it's just a completely different purpose than I think most parents think school has. And it's unfortunate.
Don't you think COVID kind of opened our eyes a little bit? Because
I think it did. I think it was a catalyst for a lot of change. I think you saw many families reconsider schooling options when they saw what their kids were actually doing in school, and it was far different than what they did a couple decades ago. It's eye-opening, to say the least. And it's pushed in every subject area. If you think that you can't introduce DEI or CRT in math class, think again. I mean, it's all over the place. It's not just in social studies.
So Derek, tell people, I'm so glad God's kind of funny, isn't he? He provides this and then you for this show, because it's all kind of what you do. But tell people the Montana Family Foundation, what do you guys do, and kind of how does this work?
Yeah, no, I am thrilled to be on the show. Thanks for having me on again. Montana Family Foundation is, I love working for the Montana Family Foundation because it's everything that I believe in. It's faith, family, and freedom. You got all the F words. But we advocate for life, religious liberty, marriage and freedom, marriage and family, and then school choice options here in the state of Montana. And so we do that through lobbying our legislature. We also do that through litigation in the courts. So I'm the chief legal counsel. So I do both. I wear both hats. During the legislative session in Montana, which is every other year. We're not a full-time legislature like some other states. We lobby up at the Capitol. We're there every single day. And then in the off season, or what I call lawsuit season, we're defending those laws in court, and we're challenging bad laws as well. And so I think, that's one of the reasons you brought me on, was to talk about, I guess, give you some of the backstory in Montana. So set the stage for your audience. Montana has a Republican governor, has a Republican-controlled legislature in both the House and the Senate. And so that's the closest connection you have to the will of the people. And we've advanced some very pro-family, pro-life, pro-marriage statutes. They've been signed by the governor. And then they get challenged in court. Our judiciary.
We have a very liberal Supreme Court.
We do. We have a very, very progressive judiciary in general. I'd say both at the district court level and at the state Supreme Court level. And no, I think over time we will see that change, but it's slower going in Montana because we have nonpartisan judicial elections. But that's a whole separate issue. I don't want to get drugged down that. Back in 2023, Montana, like many other states, there were actually about 26 other states, passed a law to prohibit transgender experiments on children. Just that's what they are. So this is things like puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or just surgery to remove healthy body parts on anyone younger than 18. And Montana, like many states, passes laws to protect minors. We don't let minors smoke cigarettes. We don't let minors go into strip clubs. We don't let minors get tattoos. We don't let minors exercise the fundamental right to marry without their parents' consent. There's many laws that we pass to protect children from adult decisions with adult consequences. And this falls in line with that type of law. So we passed this law. It's signed by the governor in 2023. And it's a huge win. Like many other states, we passed this law. We're protecting kids from these irreversible surgeries, irreversible hormones. It's an industry that creates lifelong patients that are dependent on synthetic hormones that their body doesn't naturally produce. There's a whole host of issues, both physical and psychological, that come with transitioning, especially a minor. So we passed that law in Montana. It gets immediately challenged in court. In Missoula, which is a very, very liberal district area of Montana, it was struck down. It was enjoined in Missoula. And then that injunction was appealed to the Montana Supreme Court. At the same time, out of Tennessee, there was a case called Strenght that made its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. It was the same exact law in Tennessee that was challenged, and the U.S. Supreme Court was going to decide whether or not this law could withstand scrutiny. Our Montana Supreme Court decided they were going to issue their opinion before the U.S. Supreme Court issued their decision in Strenght, and they upheld the injunction in Montana. So they said, you have to strike this law down until we've had a full hearing on the merits. And they cited the right to privacy, among some other things here in the Montana State Constitution, as the basis for enjoining the law. A couple months later, Strenght was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, and they upheld the law. They said states have a right to protect minors. So that sets the stage from 2023. Here we are in 2025. Back in the legislative session, we've been told by the Montana Supreme Court that this law that you passed to protect minors is enjoined. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we don't give up. As you said in your open, we don't give up. At the Montana Family Foundation, we just had to get creative. So what we did, instead of prohibiting this practice, what if we made it harder to ensure the practice? What if we made it so cost prohibitive that these gender clinics that are hacking up children can't do business anymore? They can't get insurance to practice this experimental procedure on kids. So what we did, we took a look at the statute of limitations for medical malpractice in the state of Montana. And typically that's only 2 years. And it's similar in other states. There may even be shorter deadlines in other states. And we started out with the grand idea of making that as long as possible. We said, why not make it 25 years? What if you have some chemical synthetic hormone when you're 16 and you take it for 2 years and it makes your voice really deep. And then in your 30s, you're a young woman who wants to have kids and you realize you've been harmed because of these synthetic hormones. Well, let's make the statute of limitations really long. We started out with 25 years. The Montana legislature was uncomfortable with that long of a time frame. But what we settled on was actually, it depends on the age of the child, and the time of discovery of the harm, but all of these kids are harmed. We essentially got a statute of limitations of almost 10 years. So from age of 18 all the way up until age 27, you can bring a lawsuit if you had a puberty blocker prescribed for gender dysphoria, or if you had some cross-sex hormone, or if you were mutilated through surgical intervention. You can bring a lawsuit against the provider who harmed you. And what we saw as a result, Rick, is that within a couple months, all of the gender clinics that would perform these procedures on kids, they stopped doing it. And that was a huge win to protect kids in Montana. And it's a reality that these doctors are just not going to stand by their work, because it's not medicine. It's intervention. It's an experiment. And it's disgusting. It's horrific.
Well, that tells you that if they don't want to go out 10 years, they have to see the stories that come out of kids that are, 5 years later, and all of a sudden, they're realizing they made a mistake and
Yes.
they didn't want to do this. So
Yeah.
that just proves it.
Yes.
But what I love about that is too, you didn't fight the ruling because you knew you couldn't beat the court. So instead, you made it more difficult, and basically they stopped doing it. So but the problem is, like, until I go to this meeting with you and hear that conversation from the media standpoint, all I heard was headlines that says this is shot down and now people can be doing this. So yes, it was shot down, but people aren't doing it because they don't want to stand up to back their practice of what they're doing, this medical procedure for 10 years,
Yeah.
And
it was all, and a big part of the reason why it passed is because it's really happening. We had a young lady by the name of Elle Palmer who flew out. She now lives in Washington, the state of Washington, but she grew up in Great Falls, Montana. And she had this exact thing happen to her when she was 15, 16 years old. And she had battled significant mental health issues all the way up until the point where she self-diagnoses with gender dysphoria, visits a gender therapist, and the therapist immediately agrees with her. Oh, yeah, you have gender dysphoria. Of course you do, within the first meeting. And then sends her over to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, she brings her mom along to the appointment, and they tell her, your mom doesn't have to come back to the appointment with you. And so, like most 16-year-olds who have been given some autonomy, they say, yeah, mom, you wait. And she goes back, and she's given a one-page sheet on maybe some side effects from taking testosterone. Well, 2 years later, after taking testosterone, she outgrows this idea, this notion that she's somehow a boy trapped in a girl's body, but she has an artificially deepened voice that she'll have for the rest of her life. It's irreversible. And she's very happy being a young woman. She loves being a woman. And through the process that, we call puberty, it just kind of naturally happened that she figured out, oh, I guess I was a woman the whole time. But it's sad.
That's what the research shows too. If you look,
yes,
you dig into this, it shows that most of the kids with this gender dysphoria, whatever it is,
yes,
dysphoria, they grow out of it. And
90% plus desist
See, but why
from
don't those numbers get, because if you say that, even me saying it there, it was hard for me to say because I know people are going to go, oh, you can just grow
yeah.
out of something. I'm not saying if you're gay, you can grow out of being gay. I'm saying if you're just, you have dysphoria, you think you're a man and you think you're a woman, that's the one that you grow out of. And I think we need to separate this stuff, and we're damaging a generation of kids.
Yeah, well, and I would argue a second generation as well. When you sterilize this generation, you're damaging that potential generation to come. And yes, I think the church needs to be prepared to welcome and embrace detransitioners. I can't tell you the amazing number of stories that I've seen from these detransitioners, and it takes so much more courage to detransition than it does to transition. You're leaving that community that affirmed you all along, said you're making the right choice. Don't worry, it's reversible. I mean, whatever. Told your parents that, would you rather have a dead son or a living daughter, or vice versa? I mean, it's horrific, the coerciveness of this ideology. It takes so much more courage to detransition and say, no, I made a mistake and I have to live with it for the rest of my life. And sometimes that means, if you were a young woman who is now trying to appear as a man and you had your breasts removed. And there's one story, Prisha Mosley, that exact thing happened to her. She had her breasts removed as an adolescent, and double mastectomy, pretty serious procedure, and then detransitioned and realized I made a horrible mistake. She's now married, had a child, but immediately after giving birth, she had to go into an emergency surgery because her milk started to come in and it had nowhere to go because she had her breasts removed. I mean,
and I'm sure the doctors who did that surgery on her originally told her that those things could happen.
No, this is and if any of your audience is interested in looking at some of the WPATH leaks, that's just the world. I forget the acronym, but it's basically the organization that's all about transgender health, and it's incredible the admissions in these leaks that these doctors are saying. I don't know how we give informed consent for this type of procedure to a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old. It just doesn't feel right, but I'll do it anyway. Because the industry that's created from this, you develop lifelong patients, because if they're taking these hormones to appear as something that they are not, they have to keep taking those hormones, and there's horrible repercussions from that. Not to mention the suicidal ideation actually increases after transition, as opposed to before.
But by doing what you guys did here in Montana is coming up with a way to make it so that the doctors have to be responsible for this longer than 2 years, push it out there 10 years. And all of a sudden it's like everybody's so there's no clinics doing that in Montana now.
Not to my knowledge. The three largest in the state of Montana that were conducting these types of experiments on kids have all announced within weeks of each other that we're not doing this anymore. The risk is too great. The insurance premiums are too high. We're just not going to do it. And they'll cite things like, due to changes at the federal and state level with regulations, we're just not offering these services anymore.
Just blame Trump. It had something to do with Trump,
But we're very happy about this progress and with this legislation to protect kids, and it all comes back to the Hippocratic Oath, to do no harm. When they are blatantly violating that oath through these procedures, they are inflicting harm physically and psychologically, emotionally on their patients through these experiments. We got to put an end to it.
So, Derek, what do you think the next big issue for, I feel like an issue in Montana is going to be the same issue in Oregon. Similar, you know what I mean? What do you think that, what do you really kind of, I don't mean to use the word dread, but,
Well, we're obviously very focused on those four main policy issues, and at the state level, sometimes that varies, between Oregon or Montana. What I can say is that in a post Roe and post Dobbs world, because of the piecemeal approach to state constitutions in terms of the legality of abortion, I mean, that's a big issue for us still in Montana, defending the sanctity of life. I think as medicine continues to advance and as we discover more and more about the true miracle of life, we're going to see a push and a realization from this up and coming generation that life really does begin at conception. That is a unique human being developing in the womb. It's not just a clump of cells. And I think the life issue is going to be a big one in years to come. School choice is another one. Your last guest just highlighted the fact that the agenda from the public schools is to educate your kids, but not for the purpose that most parents are sending their kids to school for. And so, I think we're going to see more and more school choice options around the country for homeschooling, microschooling, private schooling, charter schooling. So parents are equipped and empowered to place their kids in the best educational environment for their specific child. Parents know their kids better than the school system. So, and there's a whole host of issues. I mean, if at the state level, it's going to be a little different than the national level, but in Montana, those are kind of the fights that I see.
I think the school choice, you're right. That's going to be in Oregon. I know there's a real move to look that direction, especially when you realize if you got the money that Oregon is paying, and Montanans too, what you're paying for per student, you could get one heck of a great education at a private place, or use that money for your homeschool or whatever you want to do. But I think parents, the biggest mistake the teachers union made, I think, there's been many, but the biggest mistake they made was all the crap around COVID. I don't know what it was like in Montana, but in Oregon, they ran everything and they shut down the schools for almost 2 years. What they did was they gave us a glimpse into what they are and aren't doing. And that was their big mistake, because now school enrollment, I looked at 3 different schools in the Eugene area. Their enrollment's so low, they're closing schools and consolidating, and they're blaming it on the fact that people don't have as many children. But I think it's bigger than that. I think it's that parents have taken their kids out of school. They realize you can homeschool your kids for 2-3 hours a day and have the rest of the day to go do something else, and they're getting a better education than they are sitting in a classroom watching videos about somebody raping somebody.
It's horrible, and that's not a social study. You don't need that in the classroom whatsoever. And I would encourage parents, if you have the eye-opening experience like that with your child in school, look for alternatives. You may be compelled to send your kids to school because of compulsory education laws, but it doesn't have to be that school. There are other options. And quite frankly, homeschooling is a great option for a lot of families. It doesn't take all day. Just because you've been programmed to think that you go to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., let me tell you, your kids are not learning that entire time. There's a lot of breaks in between. You're only learning your core subjects for maybe an hour and a half.
And the other thing that always comes up is the socialization. It's like, and there are so many organizations in Oregon and here in Montana where you do your classroom work at home, and then once or twice a week, you get together with other homeschool groups and they organize, field trips and basketball games, and you can still play in kids sports or whatever kind of leagues. When you really start looking into it, everything's right there to make it for you. And it's not as hard as it sounds, but I'll tell you what, it sure is better than having to do what those 2 parents are doing right now and having to go to a school board meeting and be frustrated, because I hate that part. That's why I warned them, because the school district does everything it can to not listen. And it's going to, to appease them as long as you can. In Springfield, I know that's what happened with the breastless teacher. They knew people would just lose interest and stop talking about it, and they just let it wear itself out. But I think what they don't understand is, I think people are to a point now in our culture where we realize that we do make a difference when we vote and when we say something. And I think that they've let the cat out of the bag, and it will never be the same, which I think is a God thing, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, the devil always overplays his hand, you
Yeah.
know, and the other thing is, a lot of people aren't willing to make a change until they get uncomfortable. And so I think having that uncomfortability with what's being taught at school, that's gonna be a catalyst for some change.
Derek, thank you so much for coming in and talking this. I mean, I'd love to be able to think I produced this. I had this all planned and knew, but they contacted me yesterday and I thought I could squeeze him into Derek's show. Wait a minute. This is exactly what he does.
It's perfect.
It worked out really perfectly. And I hope other people, if you're interested, the Montana Family Foundation, look into it. If you're in Oregon, go look at what they're doing and model something like that in Oregon, because I think you could be a powerhouse. That's why I wanted them to see and hear what you were talking about, because if we don't share things like this, there are ways. There's never a done decision, and there's always ways to make that. And I think I give you credit. That's super smart.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I like that I live in the state that you're doing this.
We do too.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity, Rick. Thank you.
Oh, bud, you're welcome. Thank you. Right. See you later. So there you go. That I hope you understood that, what the Montana Family Foundation is all about. And, they found a way around. So the U.S. Supreme Court rules one way. The Montana Supreme Court rules another way. Rather than continue to fight this, what they went in is changed the way that the timeline, and that people that have problems for these kind of surgeries can sue them, and that stopped the problem. So you have to be creative. And as for those two parents, you guys, I think everybody needs to learn something. I take something away from that. It's just never give up. I mean, your kids are worth it. You know what I mean? Your kids should not have to watch a rape scene in a tiny 2,000 person town of Rogue River because a teacher can't edit something out. Then you shouldn't play it and come up with a new, more creative lesson plan. But the good news is now those parents know what that teacher's teaching and what that school is allowing to be taught. And that's going to be the end of that for them. Tomorrow, what do I have tomorrow? Oh, in Eugene or Lane County, very contentious races for county commissioners there. And Jake Pelroy, good friend of mine. We've had other people on who are running for the same position. He's running for the East Lane County seat. And if you live in that area or want to know more about, who's running, I like to let you guys I love this format because you get a long conversation with them so you can see not just how they answer the questions, but who they are as people. So Jake will be on the show tomorrow. So tune in at 4:00. If you guys would do something for me, share this on your page. And I also have a new option. If you guys want to help Kathy and me with our, what we're doing, it's real cheap. It's on, I have a site and I can get that to you. You can email me, rick@rickdancer.com, and I can tell you how to get on it. It's $12 a month, and we're giving other kinds of content. So it's more than just what we do here on this social media. And it's much more personal, because I'm not just blabbing to the whole world. I'm talking to a specific audience. So it's an NAS account, NAS. It's where my site is, but I could, in fact, I'll put it in the comment section in here. And if you guys are interested, it's just a way to fund us monthly to kind of pay for independent journalism. I feel funny asking like that, but you got to ask, or people don't know. And we've got like a couple hundred people in there now. So we'd love to have you over there as well. All right. We'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned. Stay ready. Fight.